All right, so here we go. Polynomial, this is the review for the test that we'll be having tomorrow. First one, they ask you which expression is equivalent to the following expression. All we're going to do is add the two polynomials together. Now, when you're adding, you can only add things that are alike. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by adding this x squared with this x squared. Here's the operation, addition. So if I add a 3x squared with a 5x squared, you're going to end up with a 8x squared. Remember, we don't touch the exponents when you're adding. So there's the first part. Now I'm going to add the x's. I'm going to add this x with this x. So if I add 5x's with 3x's, that's going to give me 8x's. Now I'm going to add these numbers that don't have letters on them. We call those coefficients. Not coefficients, but constants. We're going to add the constants, the negative 2 plus the negative 7. When you add a negative 2 plus a negative 7, you get a negative 9. Therefore, what I'm looking for is the expression 8x squared plus 8x minus 9. And that is choice A. So the correct answer to number 1 should be A. All we're doing is adding like terms. Now on the test tomorrow, I may decide I'm going to turn that into subtraction. You do the same thing except you subtract the coefficient. All right, let's try number 2. Number 2 says, what is the coefficient of the k term in the expression negative 3 times 4k plus 9 plus k times 5 plus 2k? First of all, coefficient. What does that word mean, coefficient? The number before the variable. By the way, guys, you'll notice over there on our word wall, we've added some more words, and coefficient is one of those. If you forget what a coefficient is on the test, you can look right over there. It's in the darker or the light, kind of dark blue there. Coefficient is the number in front of the variables. Now, in this case, we're going to be looking for the number in front of the k. But before I do that, I've got to simplify it first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this negative 3 times 4k plus 9. Plus k times 5 plus 2k. And I'm going to simplify it first. So to simplify, I'm going to have to use distributive property. This negative 3 times the 4k is going to give me negative 12k. Negative 3 times 9, negative 3 times 9, anybody know what that is? Negative 27. This k times that 5 would give me a 5k. And 5 times 2k, k times 2k is a 2k squared. K times another k is a k squared. Now we're not quite done yet. We still need to simplify this. We need to combine the like terms. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to take this and combine. Those are like terms. So negative 12k plus 5k would give you how many k? What's a negative 12 plus 5? Negative 7k. I've got this constant right here, but there's no other constant in the problem. So we're just going to bring it down. There's the negative 27. Same thing with this k squared. There are no other k squared, so I'm just going to bring that down. So here's what I get after I simplify. Now the question asks for the coefficient of the k term. In other words, what's the number in front of the k? Not in front of the k squared, but in front of the k. What number do you see in front of the k? Negative 7. Therefore, the correct answer here should be A. Now, I may decide tomorrow on the test, I'll ask you what's the coefficient for the k squared term. And if I ask you what's the coefficient of the k squared term, then in this case, it would be a 2. So make sure you pay attention to what I ask. All right, number 3. They're asking, what is the area of a rectangle that has a length of 2x plus 4 and a width of x plus, minus 7. Well, in order to find the area of a rectangle, we got to multiply the length times the width. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply my length, 2x plus 4, and I'm going to multiply that with the width, x minus 7. Now, the way we multiply this is by using distributive property. Some people call it the FOIL method. So we're going to multiply 2x times the x. 2x times the x is going to give me a 2x squared. I'm going to take that same 2x, but this time we're going to multiply it with the negative 7. So So 2x times a negative 7 is a negative 14x. Now I'm going to do distributive property with 4. So this 4 times that x, 4 times x is a 4x. And finally, 4 times a negative 7. 4 times a negative 7 will give me a negative 28. We're not quite done yet, because if you look closely, those two terms in the middle, they are like terms. They both have an x on them, so we can combine them. So if I put a negative 14x with a 4x, negative 14x plus 4x would be a negative 10x. So this is as far as I can go. There are no more like terms. That's the choice that I'm looking for. All right, so which one is it? A, B, C, or D? Which one? D. D is the correct answer. 2x squared minus 10x minus 20x. All right, so all we did was multiply the length times the width. Okay, we're moving on to the next one. Number 4 says, find the slope of a line that contains the point 3, negative 2, and 0, 0. I want to know what is the slope. We can do this one of two ways. First way I can do it is using the little formula that I gave you at the beginning of the year, which said y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x. Anytime we have two ordered pairs, we can find the slope using this little formula. And all the formula says is we're going to take the two y's and subtract. In other words, 0 minus a negative 2. So let me write that down. 0 minus a negative 2. I would do the same thing with the x's. Subtract them. 0 minus a 3. Let me see here. 0 minus a negative 2. 0 minus a negative 2 would be a positive 2. 0 minus a 3. 0 minus a 3 is a negative 3. So what I have here is a negative 2/3. And since negative 2/3 can't be reduced, this right here would represent my slope. So the correct answer here should be B, negative 2/3. Now, if you don't remember that formula, there is another way you could have done this, and that is to use your stat button. Okay, so if you want to take the easy way out and not have to do it by hand, you can also do your stat, calc, number 4 linear regression, and it'll also give you your slope that way as well. Okay, so you can choose whichever you're more comfortable with. Number 5. This one should be an easy one. Number 5 asks us, which of the following polynomials can be described as a trinomial? Trinomial. Now again, trinomial is one of our key words, and it's up there on the word wall. Trinomial is a polynomial that has 3 terms. So the question is, which of these choices has 3 terms in it? A, B, C, or D, guys? Which one has 3 terms? D. That is correct. This is the trinomial. It has 3 terms. This is the first term. There's the second term. There's the third term. It's the plus and minus sign that separates the terms. Anybody know what A is? Is that a monomial, binomial, or trinomial? Monomial. Number A, or letter A is a monomial. B, what is that one? Polynomial. C is a binomial, and of course D we said was a trinomial. So just make sure you're careful what I ask you tomorrow on the test. Number 6 says, suppose the total cost C of renting a car is $25 a day plus an initial fee of $100. Which equation best represents the relationship if D represents the number of days you rent the car? All right, so let me see here. C, that's going to represent the total cost. We know they're going to charge us $25 per day. So 25D. D representing how many days we're renting the car. But on top of that, they're also going to charge us a fee of $100. So we're going to add to that $100. So that's it. Which one of those choices looks like this right here? D. There it is, 25D plus 100. That's all there was to that. Number 7. Which expression best represents the simplification of 3m squared n to the 4th times negative 4m to the 6th n to the 7th? So we're multiplying these two monomials together. Now we're going to start by multiplying big numbers. And what do we call those big numbers again? What are the big numbers in front of the letters? Coefficients. We're going to multiply those coefficients. In other words, we're going to multiply 3 times a negative 4. 3 times a negative 4 is a negative 12. Now notice, guys, if you know at least that much, you can already rule out 2 of the choices. What 2 choices can we rule out already? C and D. So at least give yourself a better chance of getting the question right. So the question is, since we're multiplying, what are we supposed to do with the exponents? Are we supposed to add them or are we supposed to multiply them? Add them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add the exponents. So 2 plus 6. 2 plus 6 would give me 8. So I have m to the 8th power. Do the same thing with n. Add the exponents. 4 plus 7. 4 plus 7 would give us 11. Therefore, this is the choice that I'm looking for, making B the correct answer. Negative 12, m to the 8th, n to the 11th. Add exponents when you multiply. That was number 7. All right, next one, number 8. Mr. Garcia must provide each of his students with 2x squared minus 2x plus 3 sheets of paper. If he has x students, how many sheets of paper is he going to need? Well, let's make it a little bit easier than that. If I told you guys that each of you needed 5 sheets of paper, everyone needs 5 sheets of paper, and I told you I had 3 students, how many pieces of paper am I going to need? 15. How did you find 15? You multiply. All right, that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to multiply how many sheets each one needs, which in this case is 2x squared minus 2x plus 3. We're going to take that and we're going to multiply it with the number of students, which in this case is x. So we're going to multiply those two things together. And all we're going to do multiplying is use some distributive property. We're going to take this x and distribute it. X times 2x squared is 2x to the 3rd. X times a negative 2x is a negative 2x squared. And x times 3 is a 3x. Now notice we cannot add those together. They are not like terms. This is x cubed, this is x squared, and this is x. So don't try and add them or subtract them. That's as far as I can go. So the question is, which of those choices is correct? Should be choice D. 2x to the 3rd minus 2x squared plus 3x. So all we did was multiply those two together. Next one, number 9. The cost of developing film, F, is going to be $2 per roll plus 25 cents per print. Which equation best represents this functional relationship? All right, so F is going to be the cost of developing the film. They're going to charge us $2. But on top of that $2, they're also going to charge us 25 cents for every print that we get. And we're going to use the letter P to represent the number of prints we get. So when I add those two together, I get my total cost. So which one of those choices looks like this or similar to that? C. C is correct. That's all there was to that. Next one, number 10, says Bob has y squared plus 3y baseball cards. Mary has 3y minus 5 baseball cards. And we want to know how many baseball cards do they have combined. So again, let me make it a little bit easier. What if I said Bob has 5 cards and Mary has 3 cards? And I asked you, how many do they have total together? How many would they have together? 8. And how do we find 8? You add the 5 and the 3, and that gives you the total number of cards. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to take Bob's cards, and we're going to add that with Mary's cards. So this right here happens to be just like number 1. We're going to add them together. I know we're adding. Here's the operation. Now, only add things that are alike. Okay, so I'm going to add this y squared with this y squared. So 1y squared plus 3y squared would give us a 4y squared. We're adding, so don't touch the exponents. This 3y right here, what am I going to add that 3y with? Is there anything I can add the 3y with? No. So all we're going to do is bring it down. There's nothing to add it with, so just bring it down. What about this constant over here, the negative 5? Is there anything to add it with? No. So do the same thing. Bring down that negative 5. None of these are like terms, so I can't go any further than this. So this is the answer I'm looking for. Where is it? A, B, C, or D? B. That is correct. 4y squared plus 3y minus 5. That is our answer. Number 11. The area of a rectangle is 144 a to the 8th, b to the 4th. The width of the rectangle is 4ab squared. And we want to know what's the length. Well, to find the area, we multiply length times the width. But I'm not looking for area. I'm looking for the length. So if I want to find the length, what I'm going to need to do is divide the area by the width. If I divide the area by the width, that should give me the length. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my area, 144 a to the 8th, b to the 4th, and we're going to divide it by the width, which is 4ab squared. Let's see what we get. First thing I'm going to do is divide the big numbers, the coefficients. 144 divided by 4. Put that in your calculator. Let's see what we get. 144 divided by 4. 30 what? 36. Now notice, guys, if you can at least get that far, that should already give you the answer, right? So there's only one choice up there that has a 36 in it, which is B. But you never know. Tomorrow on the test, I may give you all of the choices and have a 36 in it. So let's go ahead and continue. We're dividing. So the rule says we do what with exponents when you divide? Subtract. So what we're going to do is subtract the exponents. So what we're going to do is a to the 8th divided by a to the 1st would give us a to the 7th power. We're subtracting the exponents. Do the same thing with b. b to the 4th divided by b squared would be b squared. Subtract the exponents. And at this point, can't go any further than that. Notice how it looks just like b. 36 a to 7 and b squared. Okay, number 12. Which of the following describes one of the factors of the polynomial x squared plus 5x plus 6? This right here is a trinomial. We factored right before we left for the break. We always look for a GCF first. Always, always, always look for GCF first. Now, in this particular case, there is no GCF. So the next thing I do is take a look at how many terms there are. In this case, there's 3 terms, making it a trinomial. So when we have a trinomial, we've got one of 2 options. We can factor when we have a coefficient, a leading coefficient of 1, and we also have a method where we have a leading coefficient other than 1. And right now we have a leading coefficient of 1, which is good. That's a lot easier than doing it when there is a coefficient other than 1. So here's how we did it. To factor that out, we said that we were going to multiply 2 binomials together. A binomial times another binomial is going to give me that trinomial. We also said the only way to get the x squared is by multiplying an x with another x. X times x is going to give you an x squared. Here's the tricky part. Tricky part is figuring out what 2 numbers are going to go in here. Now here's what we did to find those 2 numbers. We said we were going to come out to the side and do a little scratch work. The 2 numbers that I'm looking for, when I multiply them, should give me the 6. But when I add those 2 numbers together, they should give me a 5. So give me 2 numbers I can multiply together to get a 6. 2 and 3. 2 times 3 is 6. However, is 2 plus 3 also going to add up to a 5? Yes, so those are the two numbers I want. Those are the numbers we're going to put in here. A positive 2 and a positive 3. Those are the factors. If you multiply these two binomials together, you're going to end up with that trinomial. These are the factors. Now, the question asks for which of the following describes one of the factors. Okay, so I have two factors here. Here's one of the factors, here's the other one. Which one of those shows up as one of the choices, though? D, the x plus 3. Notice the x plus 2 is not one of your choices. It's only the x plus 3 that's one of your choices. Okay? So D would be the correct answer. (13) Which equation represents a line that contains the point -3, -4, and also has an x-intercept of a -2? I want an equation that has -3, -4 as a point, and an x-intercept of a -2. Well, I could use my stat button, but to use a stat button, I've got to have at least two ordered pairs. Do I have two ordered pairs up there? Yeah, you have two ordered pairs. Here's one of them. What's the other one? That's right. The x-intercept is -2, which makes the ordered pair -2, 0. So yes, you do have two ordered pairs. So let's use those two ordered pairs. Everybody go to your calculator, and let's go to Stat, Edits. Go to Stat, and then Edits. Stat, Edits. In L1, we're going to put the two x values, which in our case are -3 and -2. In L2, we're going to put the y values, which are going to be the -4 and the 0. Once you get those two ordered pairs in, you're going to go back to Stat, Calc, and the one we're using is number 4, the linear regression. Now remember, you're going to have to enter a couple of times, and it's going to give you the equation in slope-intercept form. The question is, what is that equation? Anybody got it yet? What is it? B, 4x plus 8. Everyone agree with that? That is correct. Y equals 4x plus 8. All right, so as long as you've got 2 points, two ordered pairs, we can use that stat button. Number 14. Which polynomial best describes the surface area of the rectangular prism in terms of x after it has been simplified? All right, this is probably the biggest one we have on here. All right, so make sure you get plenty of room there. What we're going to do is we're going to find the surface area. Now, what exactly is the surface area? Surface area represents the area of all of the sides of this box. It's kind of like a wrapping paper. If we were going to wrap this up in wrapping paper, how much would we need? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break this up into more manageable pieces. I've got this rectangle up here at the top. I know to find the area of a rectangle, I need to multiply the length times the width. So I'm going to multiply 3x plus 2 with this piece right here. The question is, what is that piece? What is this piece right here, guys? Well, isn't it the same thing as this piece over here? Yeah, so this piece right here should be a 4x. So that's what we're going to multiply together. So out to the side here, I'm going to do 4x times 3x plus 2. Distributed property. 4x times 3x is 12x squared. 4x times 2 is a 8x. Now here's the catch. That right there represents the top of the box. Wouldn't the bottom piece down here be exactly the same size as this one? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to multiply it times 2. Because there's two of them. There's a top and a bottom. So 12x squared times 2 would be a 24x squared. 8x times 2 would be a 16x. So this right here is going to represent the top and the bottom of the box. That's what that represents. That's the top and the bottom. Now I'm going to look at this big rectangle here, the front. Let's look at the front. I want to find the area of that rectangle. So I need to multiply the length and the width. This piece right here, how long is this piece? 3x plus 2. It's the same as the other side. 3x plus 2. What about this piece right here? How big is that piece? X. It's the same as this other piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and multiply x times 3x plus 2, the length and the width. So x times 3x is 3x squared. X times 2 is 2x. That right there is the front of the box. But, just like the top and the bottom, this front piece is exactly the same size as the back piece. So we're going to multiply that times 2. Because the front and the back exactly the same size. So 2 times 3x is 6x squared. 2 times 2x is a 4x. This right here is going to represent the front and the back. Do I have all the sides? No. Not quite. We're still missing the left and the right side. So we're going to look at this piece now. We're looking right here. What am I going to multiply together to get the area of that rectangle? What is the length and the width of this piece? 4x. What are we going to multiply the 4x with? With this right, which is x. 4x times an x. And what is 4x times an x? 4x squared. But that would only represent the right side. Well, what about the left side? It's the same thing. So let's multiply this times 2. So 2 times 4x squared would be a 8x squared. So that right there is going to represent the left and the right side. What are we going to do now? We're going to take all of these and we're going to add them together. We're going to take the top and the bottom, which was 24x squared plus 16x. That right there is the top and the bottom. We're going to add the front and the back, which was the 6x squared plus 4x. And finally, we're going to add the left and the right, which was the 8x squared. We're going to add all that together. We're going to add up the like terms. So I'm going to start by adding all the x squares. We got 24 here, we got 6 here, and 8 here. So if I add all that together, what do you get when you add 24 plus 6 plus 8? 38. 38x squared. We don't touch the exponents when we are adding. Now I'm going to take the x's, this right here, and this right here, and add them together. 16x's plus 4x's would give you a 20x. And since these aren't like terms, that's as far as I can go. That's the answer I'm looking for. Therefore, the correct answer here should be D. A lot of work to get there. That's number 14. 15. The length of a painting can be represented by the expression 2x plus 24. The width can be represented with the expression 5x minus 8, which is a simplified expression for the perimeter of the painting. All right, so let me draw the painting here. Here's the painting. It says here that the painting has a length of 2x plus 24. The width is 5x minus 8. Now remember, we're dealing with a rectangle here. So if this length up here is 2x plus 24, well then so is this bottom piece over here. It's also 2x plus 24. Same thing for the width. This side over here is also going to be 5x minus 8. And the reason I say that is because we were asked to find the perimeter. And how do you find the perimeter of anything? Add up all the sides. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add up all the sides. Now watch how I do this though. When I add up all the sides, I'm going to only add the like terms. In other words, I'm going to add the x's together first. So let's see. 5x's plus 5x's would give us 10x's. Plus 2 more x's is 12x's. Plus 2 more x's is 14x's. 5 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2 gives us a 14. Now I'm going to add up all the constants. I'm going to add up the 24, the negative 8, the 24, and the negative 8. So what do we get when we add all that together? 32, positive 32. Therefore, the perimeter would be represented with the expression 14x plus 32, making B the correct answer. That's our perimeter. (16) Which of the following describes the factors of the binomial 25x squared minus 36? First of all, notice there is no GCF on that. What we're going to do is the difference of two squares. Difference of squares. Difference because it's subtraction. Squares because I can take the square root of both terms. These are perfect squares. Notice the square root of 25 would be a 5. The square root of x squared would be a x. And the square root of a 36 would be a 6. All I'm doing is taking the square root. This is the one where we wrote it down twice. We write it down with a plus, and then also with a minus. So the two factors are 5x plus 6 and 5x minus 6. So look closely. Which of those choices has 5x plus 6 and 5x minus 6? B. B is the correct answer. (19) Which of the following describes the GCF, the greatest common factor? First, we're going to start off by looking at the coefficients, the 36, the 24, and the 12. What's the largest number that will go into a 36, 24, and 12 even? Biggest number. Biggest number is a 12. 12 goes into 36 even, 12 goes into 24 evenly, and 12, of course, goes into 12. So, 12. Now we're looking at the variables. I've got an x to the third, I've got an x squared, and I've got an x to the fifth. The most they have in common is an x squared. All of them have at least an x squared in it. Now I'm looking at the y's. I've got a y squared, I've got a y to the third, and I've got a y to the fifth. The most they have in common is a y squared. Therefore, my GCF is a 12x squared y squared, making C the correct answer. 12x squared y. And last one, number 20. Which of the following describes the factors of the polynomial x to the third minus 27? This is a binomial. And on this one, we're going to have to use that difference of cubes. Difference of cubes. Here's how we did difference of cubes. We said we're going to get a binomial times a trinomial. We're going to start by finding the binomial. And the way we find the binomial is by taking the cube root of each term. The cube root of x to the third is x. The cube root of 27, anybody know what the cube root of 27 is? You also remember where to find the cube root, just in case you need it on the test one. Where is it on your calculator? How do you find the cube root? How do you find this button right here? Cube root. Math. Go to math. I think it's number, 4, something like that. Put in your 27. And what is the cube root of 27? 3. So the binomial should be x minus 3. So does that rule out any of the choices already? Yeah. Rules out choice B, and also rules out choice C. So give yourself a better chance of getting these questions right. Know at least that much. Here's what we also know. We know that this sign and the first sign are going to be opposites. These two signs will always be opposites of each other. That last one is always going to be a positive. Now let's find the missing terms. This first one right here, we get it by squaring the first term in the binomial. So if I square the x, that's going to give me a x squared. To get the middle term, I multiply both of these together. So the x times the 3 is going to give me a 3x. To get this last one over here, I'm going to square the last term in the binomial. So in other words, we're going to square the 3. So when you square a 3, you're going to get a 9. So this right here is the one I'm looking for. So which one is it, A or D? D. D is the correct answer to number 20. All right, the test will look very similar to this month. So make sure you're ready, make sure you study.